Morning, welcome. I'm Melissa. This is Gaby. We are the co-owners and the co-CEOs of Pack for Camp, which is a website, one-stop shop for everything you need for summer camp. We've been doing this for about 7 years. We've had this online site, but I just turned 49 this year, and I think I've been selling stuff for camp like for 48 years. So my parents had a store while I was growing up called they had a few different stores, Socks and More and Socks Fifth Avenue, and they have a store in the Catskills now in a vacation area called Kosher Socks, and they sell everything people need for camp but also for their vacations. So I kind of grew up on that, and about 7 years ago we started kind of thinking we'd like to go online and share and what do we have to share and what's our special aspect. And we realized it was about sending kids to camp. We had that information. We knew we had background, we had suppliers, and that's how we kind of got to it. Today, my dad's turning 80 this year. So if you want to visit that store, it's in South Fallsburg. It might be the last year it's open. He's threatening. So, if you want a piece of nostalgia, but hopefully we'll still be going for quite some time. So that's about us. We have 4 kids. Their ages, we're also married to each other. So we have 4 kids, ages 10, 15, 18, and 20. The 18-year-old went to camp. Went to sleepaway camp a few times. The other ones did not want to, and my 10-year-old's been going to day camps for a few years. So that's about us in camp. We ourselves went to camp. We'll get to that picture in a moment in the next slide. So why are we here? Because at the beginning somebody said, what is this about exactly? I'm not really sure what I came to. So let us give you a little bit of an idea. We're going to talk about why packing for camp is a thing at all that we need to talk about, and why you guys came because you felt like it could be interesting. What do we pack into? How do we go about labeling? And then we'll talk about the packing list, basic essentials, as well as things that may not be on the packing list that you'll need, how to store your stuff in your bunk, helping your child feel a little at home. And then we'll talk a little bit about the resources that we offer on our website and have a Q&A session, and stay on till the end because there'll be a special offer for those who are still around. So first of all, here on the right, you can see us in camp. Here's me about 30-something years ago at Vacation Village Day Camp in Loch Sheldrake, New York. And here's Gaby. As soon as he starts talking, you'll hear he was in South Africa in camp, where I never had a tent in camp, but he did. So you'll hear his accent soon. And let's talk about what's unique about packing for camp. So first of all, it may be a long time away from home. It depends on the camp. Some camps give 1-week sessions, and some camps, your child might be away for 8 weeks. So they're going to need a lot of different things and for a lot of different activities. So they may need clothes that will be good for sliding down the hill in the mud after it rains and swimming. And they may also need for being in the rain, and it might be cold in the evening and really hot during the day, and et cetera, et cetera. That also has to do with the amount of stuff that you need about laundry at camp. There are some camps that say come for 2 weeks and you will not be doing any laundry. So you need enough of whatever you need to go for 2 weeks. And obviously for each individual, that's different. So I might want to change my shirt every day, and my child might think that changing their shirt once a week is good enough. So you kind of have to find that middle ground of the laundry. Additional factors is that there's limited space in camp. You get there, they'll tell you in advance, you have 1 shelf, you have two items you can hang out in a shelf. You might have a little bit more than that, but there's always limited space. And at the same time, you're sharing facilities. So it's not like at home where you might share a room with a sibling or have your own room and then all the closet space is yours, but rather everybody's stuff is everywhere and getting mixed up with everything. Oh, I see Sadie nodding her head. We've got our camper here agreeing with me. So I'm on a good track. And the last thing, which makes packing for camp unique, it's kind of have to do with the quality that you may buy for camp, is that your stuff may not come back at all. And if it does come back, it may not come back the same. So, we've had kids who came home with double the amounts of stuff they went with, but none of it was theirs. We've had kids come home with absolutely nothing, and we've had kids come home with stuff after 8 weeks that smells so bad we wish they left it at camp. So I'm sure for those of you who've been to camp already, you've experienced that. But for people who are the first timer out there, just kind of it's a warning that things aren't exactly, if you're going to send that pristine white shirt, don't expect it to look so beautiful when it comes back.
Okay, so now that we've given some background, let's get to the actual central points of this presentation in terms of actual packing tips. So the first thing is, before you decide what to put into your bag, what bag are you actually going to pack into? So there's a few factors to consider. First of all, what does your camp want? So there are camps that have specific requirements around the bag. Some might want a hard trunk, some might want a soft trunk, some might want you to just bring everything in a box. But a lot of camps, most camps, I would say, are not too fussy about what bag you're bringing. So we'll speak about what we know and what's popular amongst our customers. So for most of our customers, they're buying the very big soft duffels. And most people choose to go with the wheels, but we'll speak about that in a moment. So in terms of the size, typically you want the biggest size possible that's still kind of workable, because obviously to maximize the stuff that you can bring and that will fit in your bag. Some camps will have a limit on how many bags you can bring. So our most popular size that we sell is the 42-inch duffel bag. It's a very large bag. There's actually even bigger one, a 52-inch, which is like ginormous. That one the 52-inch does not come on wheels because it's so big. They don't actually design them with wheels. The biggest one that comes on wheels is the 42-inch, and that we find is generally the most popular. Now, the other factors to take into account are how you're getting to camp. If you happen to be flying to camp, the 42-inch is an oversized bag, and therefore the biggest bag would be the 36-inch. The biggest bag that would be allowed on a plane without it being considered oversized. That's generally the rule there. In terms of wheels versus no wheels, so the wheels do make the bag a little bit heavier, but obviously a lot easier to maneuver. So some people prefer no wheels just because the bag's lighter and it's easy to just put away. The ones with wheels are also relatively easy to put away, but the base stays as is. So the bag kind of flattens, but you still have the base with the wheels, where most people will just shove the bag under their beds when it's empty. One tip, regardless of which bag you use, is around packing with packing cubes. This is something we discovered that is really useful, that more and more people who we recommend them to are really enjoying them. And it just gives you a way of, it's these basic, they come in different sizes. You can see them in the picture there. And it's a way of just organizing your stuff inside the bag. So you could either purchase the packing cubes or you could even use Ziploc bags. But when you compartmentalize stuff into, let's say, underwear and t-shirts and sweatshirts, then your child can either live out of those packing cubes or at least unpack them, in a kind of an orderly fashion. So that's just a nice way to keep things organized. So that's about the bag. The next thing is labeling, because before you actually put your stuff into the bag, we need to label everything. And that's because, as we mentioned, stuff gets lost. A lot of stuff looks the same and it's going all over the place and the kids are up and down. So if you want to have a chance of recovering some of your stuff, it's a really good idea to label it. So the first question is, what do you even write on the label? We generally suggest the family name and phone number. The reason we say that is the phone number, for obvious reasons, that you can actually, someone can contact you easily. But we'd say the family name and not necessarily the first name, because you might want to use these labels multiple times. If you've just bought a sheet of 300 labels and you used 100 on one child going to camp, you might want to use the other 200 on a different child. And then if it's just the last name, so those can be used multiple times. When it comes to labeling, there's a few different solutions. and I'll quickly talk you through the pros and cons of each one. The most popular that we sell by far are the stickers, for obvious reasons that they just stick on without very much effort. But there are a few limitations around the stickers. Number one, when you're applying them to clothing, if you want them to survive the laundry, they have to go onto the actual clothing tag in the t-shirt or whatever you're labeling. So not everything has one of those tags, and then just sticking it on the material, they may not last as long. So the stickers are great. You can also have them with like designs in the background, etc. But there is that limitation. If you're talking about items like not clothing, like water bottles and stuff like that, the stickers are also perfect for that. Now, the more traditional labels are the iron-ons or the sew-ons. Obviously, a little bit harder to apply, but the advantage of the iron-ons is that they can really go on anything, on socks, on whether or not you have a clothing label, you can put them on. You do have to be aware of not burning your stuff, but that goes without saying when dealing with an iron. Stampers are actually another easy thing to apply, like the stickers. And they can actually be a good complement for the stuff. If let's say you buy stickers and stamper, so the stuff that you can't apply the stickers to, you can use the stamper on. The limitation with the stamper is that it's generally just black. So if you have a black item, it's not going to work. And then the last thing is the laundry markers, which is the simplest, but sometimes very effective. And that's just like a permanent marker, like a Sharpie, where you'll be writing on the label or whatever item it is that you have. So a lot of our customers will buy a combination of some of these labeling tools, so to speak, so that they can, adjust to the different needs of labeling. Just to remind you again, we will have questions at the end, so you can hold those questions or you can already write them in the chat, and we'll get to all the questions in the Q&A.
Okay, so the camp sent you your packing list. This list here is kind of the basics that go with all camps, whether it's a Girl Scout camp and whether it's a 10-star hotel camp. You're going to have these general items on your list, but they will vary in the number that they suggest. Now, the number that the camp suggests is usually the number that you probably should be sending. Why is that? They're taking into account, right? That's the word. Into account laundry, as I mentioned before, how many times they might have swimming during the day. So some camps might have swim twice a day, where they might have a free swim and an instructional swim. Some camps have swimming, they don't have a pool, so they might only go to a pool once a week, but they take into account all sorts of things like that. So the first and basic essentials for camp are linen and towels. Generally, people will bring that from home. I do recommend not bringing your best set again. There are people who keep a stack of their camp towels in the attic or in the basement, and then when they pull out their duffel bag from last year, there are all those towels waiting for them, and you remember them, and there's lots of fun because they're going back to camp. But high quality, and again, they're not going to come back the same, so don't send your favorite of anything. Toiletries. And I wrote here a shower caddy, so that's toiletries and something to carry your stuff in, because generally you'll want to set your stuff aside. Your child will want to have their caddy with their stuff. It will go back and forth from the bunk to the bathroom, or it might stay in the bathroom, but at least they know that's their stuff in the white caddy or the purple one or whatever other color it is. Toiletries obviously include shampoo and conditioner and feminine hygiene and deodorant, et cetera, but what's one of the things that's most important is sunscreen and insect repellent. No matter where you're going to camp, you'll need those things. Okay, then we have laundry. So the first and most important thing is a huge laundry bag to keep your laundry, whether it's going to come home at the end all dirty or whether it's going to go out to the laundry at camp. Sometimes the camp has very specific bags they want, or they give you a bag, but that's actually a big thing, is a huge mesh, cotton, doesn't really matter what it's made out of, nylon laundry bag. It could even be a garbage bag to keep dirty laundry. And the last part The last section here on this basic essentials is clothing. Now, when it comes down to clothing, we actually sell very little clothing on our site. And that is because you all know where you buy your clothing for your children. And they have stuff at home, you take them off the shelf, et cetera, et cetera. And that sort of thing. Make sure you have swim stuff in the clothing category. As well as stuff for the rain, as we mentioned earlier, whether that's a poncho, some places even say bring rain boots and bring a rain hat and what have you. Okay, so now we're going into useful items that you might not find on your packing list. So it depends. Some camps, I mean, we partner with about 120 camps, so I've seen multiple camp lists. And first of all, there are things that we'll mention here, but the best way to find out about those things that are not on your packing list, but everyone brings to camp, is to ask parents of campers that have gone in previous years. So Sadie probably knows already things that people bring. Everybody brings something. So, if you have those ideas, feel free to share them in the chat, what everybody brings to your camp. A few things we've mentioned here are a fan. Fans come either as plug-in or battery. It really depends, because sometimes there's not enough space for everybody to plug their fan in. So you send with a battery fan, but to kind of keep the temperature the way you like it. You don't always have control over the temperature in the camp bunk. Some really depends on the camp. Some have air conditioning, others don't. An egg crate to make the bed more comfortable. Again, if you're going to the luxury camp, you may not need an egg crate, but it is a very popular item. A chair, because they spend a lot of time outside. Different camps want different types of chairs. Some want only with legs, some want a crazy creek type, which is without legs, to sit on the ground. Fun and games, they'll often mention that. Lots of cards, card games, small travel games, like checkers or Connect Four, or whatever it is that you guys like, can go to camp for them to play, because they're actually off their screens in most places. And Mad Libs, if you remember, it's one of my favorite things. My kids play them all the time, even now, not necessarily in camp. And we mentioned the MP3 player and a camera, because many camps do not allow screens, so the children are not coming, or they can't keep their phones with them, but they are allowed to listen to music if it's not connected to the internet. So they can use an old-fashioned MP3 player, and a camera. For example, the one up here doesn't even have a screen. It's a digital camera without a screen. And the last item I'm going to mention is storage, which I'm going to go into right here on the next place. As I mentioned earlier, there's limited space at camp, and limited and shared space. So we try to make the best use of space that isn't considered storage and make it into storage space. So the number one place I think is under and around your bed, meaning, you have that bed, or it could be a bunk bed. You might have to split that space under the bed. But a lot of kids keep either their duffel bag under the bed, if the camp allows that, or have special boxes to put stuff under their bed, ranging from sweaters that they might not need the whole time, to food if the camp allows it, to, I keep saying if the camp, but there's really a lot about that, because it's not any fun to get to camp the first day and have anything confiscated because they don't allow this type of screen, or they don't allow food, or that sort of thing. There are other storage solutions that go around the bed, next to the bed. For example, storage drawers made of plastic. If they have hanging room, but they don't have any hanging things, you can buy different sort of solutions to either make it into a place to store shoes, or to make hanging space into shelves, that sort of thing. And then the classic over the door storage, which is something you see here, which is a lot of pockets. There's only one door though in camp. So we tend to see people using this here. It was placed over the side of a bunk bed. It could be the inside of a closet and that sort of thing, but it allows for room for shoes, for games, here, a water bottle, and that sort of thing. Last, but certainly not least, is help your child feel at home. So these are little things that we just throw in. Make sure to pack it together with them. So to kind of lower any sort of anxiety or homesickness as best as you can. can be something like their favorite teddy bear, their favorite blanket, pictures from home of their pet, of their friends, of their siblings, of their mom and dad, or whatever they feel like they want. And letter writing. A lot of camps tell you this is how we communicate during camp. Some of it's actual old snail mail. I remember when I was at camp, my mom wrote to me every single day. And every day they had, well, letter call, and they'd call my name, Melissa Goldwag, and I was so excited. And I tried to write back as much as I could, but my mom was very consistent. And when she wrote to my kids in camp, they kind of said, what does grandma want? Why does she keep writing all these letters? And how am I supposed to answer all of her questions? And I had to explain to them that, no, you don't have to write back, but it's just fun to get this mail every day. A lot of camps today have some sort of email system where you email and they print it out and they give it to the kids and that sort of thing. But there's all sorts of things, and that letter writing is really a good thing, and it's a good thing, for the kids to write back. Here's a type of stationery that's actually already filled in for them. So if they're not big letter writers, dear camp is really like they don't have to really think too much, but you'll still, they'll feel good having sent a letter, and you'll feel happy that you got a letter.
Okay, so we've covered the basics that we wanted to cover, but we will go further in the Q&A. I just wanted to introduce you now to our website itself and some of the resources that are available to you. So this is Pack4Camp, pack4camp.com. So it's really what we've tried to create is a one-stop shop for everything you need for camp. And when I say everything, I mean everything. The categories you have from the trunks and bags, the labels that we discussed, to the laundry, toiletries, storage, outdoor stuff. We're also constantly adding things to the website based on feedback from our customers. So if there might be items that we weren't even aware are popular at camp and someone asks for, and we put them up, and then suddenly we see lots of people ordering them. And if there is something that you can't find that a lot of people like or that you want, you can always reach out to us and ask us about it, and we'll be happy to try and source that item. But really, you're going to find most of what you need. From a clothing perspective, we're not carrying like typical a whole wardrobe that you're going to do in your, whatever your favorite clothing shops are. But even with clothing, we have a few particularly camp kind of items that we have on the website, but everything other than the clothing on your back, we'll have on the website. Now, another cool feature that we have is what's called the packing list. So we partner with about 120 camps. You'll find that in the Shop by Camp. And we do this with our partners, but we also have generic lists. What we do is that we'll map the camp list to the items we have on our website. And then you can just go down the list, checking off on a checklist the stuff that you need and add it to your cart. It's just another easy way of kind of doing your camp shopping, seeing it all on one page. If your camp does feature on our camp list, so they might be selling the camp swag as well, that is hosted on our website. So just a few more resources. So obviously there's we spoke about the packing list by camp. We have a fortune of content on the website. So we really try and cover the topics that are on your mind, whether it's things we discussed, like which bag should I buy, or how do I go about labeling, or is my child actually ready to go to camp?
Am I ready to send
my kid to send my kid to camp? So we have some guest blogs. We just put out a guest blog by an expert in the field about why it's healthy to sort of not have screens during camp. So there are a lot of resources that you can go through. You'll see that on the website in the top right corner under resources. There's videos as well. So we do try and provide you with as much content as possible. And then by signing up to this webinar, you also get access to the newsletter, which will send you those different resources, as well as featuring different parts of the website that we bring your attention to when you're doing your camp shopping.